Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into a truly shocking case that absolutely captivated the world, the Leongatha mushroom murders. It's a story about a seemingly ordinary suburban family lunch that ended in a horrific, fatal betrayal.
Okay, just look at this timeline. It shows you just how terrifyingly fast this all happened. On July 29th, it's just a family meal. But literally, within 24 hours, all 4 of her guests are in the hospital. And by August 5th, that's just 1 week later, 3 of them are dead. That incredible speed is what took this from a family crisis to a massive national headline, almost overnight.
So let's really set the scene for this suburban tragedy. We're going to look at all the key pieces that came together on that fateful day.
At the heart of this was the alleged weapon, hidden in plain sight, the death cap mushroom. Now, this is not just any poisonous fungus, you guys. We're talking about one of the most lethal mushrooms in the entire world, and it was supposedly mixed right into the beef Wellington that was served for lunch.
And these were the people who sat down for that meal with absolutely no idea it would be their last. You had Erin Patterson's in-laws, Dawn and Gail's sister and brother-in-law, Heather and Ian Wilkinson. Out of those 4 people, only Ian would make it out alive, and that was after spending more than 7 weeks fighting for his life in the hospital. So, while the family and really the whole country was reeling from this news, the police launched their investigation. And it didn't take them long to zero in on the one adult at that lunch who didn't get critically sick, the host herself, Erin Patterson.
So this became the huge question for investigators and for all of us watching this unfold. Was this just a terrible, tragic mistake? An amateur forager who picked the wrong thing? Or was it something far more sinister and calculated?
As investigators started digging, a whole series of Erin Patterson's actions began to paint a really troubling picture. For starters, her story about where the mushrooms came from kept changing. Then, a key piece of kitchen equipment, a food dehydrator, just suddenly gets dumped at the local tip. And then you have the really strange fact that her estranged husband, Simon, was invited to the lunch but was a last-minute no-show. Every single one of these actions just became another red flag, pulling the whole case further and further away from being a simple accident.
And this was the big turning point in the investigation. When the police found that dehydrator, it became this critical piece of forensic evidence. It was a direct link connecting Patterson to the preparation of those deadly mushrooms.
Okay, so now let's head into the courtroom, because this is where the story takes another huge turn. The jury was presented with 2 completely opposite narratives of what happened that day.
The entire trial really boiled down to this one conflict. On one side, you have the prosecution, arguing that this was a cold, calculated plot to murder her family. And on the other side, you have the defense, claiming it was just a terrible accident, and that all of Patterson's lies afterwards weren't because of guilt, but because of pure, overwhelming panic.
The prosecution really did build its case brick by brick. They argued that dumping the dehydrator was a clear attempt to destroy evidence. They brought up a fabricated cancer story that they say she used just to lure the family to this reconciliation lunch. And then they had CCTV footage and digital evidence that showed Patterson researching and being near the exact type of mushrooms that killed her guests.
The defense, though, their whole strategy was just to push back on that narrative. Their position was simple. Everything Patterson did could be explained away as the actions of an innocent person who was just caught in an unimaginable nightmare. To them, it wasn't murder. As her lawyer put it, it was a tragedy and terrible accident.
So, after weeks of some really harrowing testimony and just intense media focus, the jury was sent away to deliberate. Erin Patterson's fate, and really the answer to the question the entire country was asking, was now in their hands.
And then, on July 7th, 2025, the jury delivered its unanimous verdict: guilty. Guilty on all counts.
That guilty verdict was followed by a sentence that really showed just how serious these crimes were. For the 3 murders, the judge handed down 3 concurrent life sentences.
So let's just break down that final judgment. On top of the life sentences for the 3 murders, she got another 25 years for the attempted murder of Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor. With a non-parole period of 33 years, Erin Patterson won't even be eligible for release until the year 2056.
The case had this bizarre mix of family drama, a picturesque country town, and just a uniquely horrifying murder weapon. It all came together to create a global media storm, with some outlets even calling it Australia's trial of the century.
So that leaves us with one final thought. Was it just the chilling idea of poison being hidden in a home-cooked meal, or maybe the absolute breakdown of a family in the most horrific way you can imagine? What do you think? Why did this story about a fatal lunch in a small Australian town manage to capture the entire world's attention?